Hi, my name is Tony Morrow, and this is Introduction to Project Management. In an earlier episode, we identified our stakeholders and built our stakeholder register. Now we need an effective plan to engage these stakeholders. We need to recognize their different needs for information and begin a continuous process of reviewing these needs and updating our plan as required. Milestones that would prompt us to review our plan could be the start of a new phase in the project, or a change in the organization structure or within the industry. Maybe when a new group or individual joins or leaves our stakeholder community, or when outputs of other project processes require a review of our stakeholder engagement plan. These are some of the events that could call for us to take another look at our plan. When it comes to creating the plan, we need some of our classic inputs to help inform the process. The first is our project charter. Remember, this includes the purpose of our project and our high-level objectives and criteria for success. And that creates the context for engaging our stakeholders. We need some elements of our planning that we've created up to now. Resource management plan, which includes roles and responsibilities of the team and other stakeholders. Our communications management plan and how we handle the exchange of project information. Our risk management plan helps us to map thresholds and attitudes towards risk as it relates to stakeholders. We'll also need some documents. Our assumptions log, change log, issues log, project schedule, risk register, and stakeholder register. What kind of agreements do we have in place? How do we need to plan to engage our suppliers, contractors, or support stakeholders? Of course, we wouldn't be able to talk about inputs without our best friends forever, F's and OPAs. In this case, F's could be our stakeholders' risk tolerances, established mediums of communication, or global and regional trends or practices. OPAs could include policies and procedures around risk, internal communication, or reporting requirements or software tools. With our references in hand, we can tap into our usual suspects. Expert judgment. For example, those with knowledge of political power structures, communication strategies, cultural expertise, or specific stakeholder knowledge. Data gathering. For example, the detailed data on our stakeholder analysis in our stakeholder register. Data analysis. This could also include a root cause analysis on stakeholders to better understand their support for the project. Or assumption and constraint analysis to understand the impacts of various engagement strategies. Data representation. This could include mind maps or flow charts to visualize and better understand information and the relationship between the project and stakeholders. Or a stakeholder engagement matrix. A stakeholder engagement matrix is a table or visualization comparing engagement levels of stakeholders versus the desired or required levels needed for a successful project outcome. Stakeholders fall into one of 5 categories. Unaware, as in they are unaware of the project, the potential impacts or outcomes. They are resistant, as in they are aware of the project, the potential impacts and outcomes, but are resistant to any changes that may occur as a result of the project. Essentially, they are unsupportive and may create barriers to success. Neutral. They are aware of the project, but not supportive or unsupportive. They just don't care. Supportive. They are aware of the project and potential impacts or outcomes and are supportive. Leading. Aware of the project and potential impacts or outcomes and are actively engaged to ensure project success. With all this data and analysis, we will conduct meetings and make decisions prioritizing various stakeholders, with the highest influence stakeholders at the top of our list. At the end of this process is the creation of your stakeholder engagement plan. This output identifies the strategies and actions required to promote involvement and engagement by stakeholders in decisions and execution of the project. Depending on the project, this could be a highly detailed document with tables, forms, decision trees, and pre-planned responses or courses of action. Or it could be a broadly framed vision statement with intent or general direction and guidance. It depends on the project and the expectations of the stakeholders. In the supporting documents for this episode, I've included an example of a stakeholder management plan from Natural Resources Canada. This example includes worksheets and background on their use case and shows how detailed and in-depth this process can be. While this episode is short, this process and the work that goes into it is not. Take a few minutes to look at this example and appreciate the level of detail in the example. In today's episode, we've described the process of creating your stakeholder engagement plan. We described a stakeholder engagement matrix, and you have an example of a stakeholder engagement plan to read. We have finished planning. Woohoo! Now it's time for execution. The pointy end of the spear where the rubber hits the road, getting stuff done, making it happen. Too much? Okay. All right, I'll see you in the next episode.